Welcome back to Voices of the Valley here on ValleyHoopsInsider.com. One of the joys of being at the Missouri Valley Tournament is getting to see this guy, Art Hains. He's the play-by-play broadcaster for the Missouri State Bears. Art, I ask you this every year because sometimes people are new to our website or new to the league. How long at Missouri State? Are you like Dave Snow? You know exactly how many games you've done too?
Pretty much. 38 years. I was there 4, I left and came back, so total of 38. I'm like Grover Cleveland. They have non-consecutive terms, but they add up to 38. And it's something around 1,175 games.
Wow. It's amazing, isn't it? And he's only 28 years old. Yeah. Your Bears come in here. Kind of a mixed bag. I mean, for a while they weren't that good, then they got better, then they stumbled a little bit at the end. What do you make of your Bears currently, right here?
Well, they got better when they changed their style of play and went from playing a more normal, fast pace that Dana Ford really wants to play, but he was frustrated by the lack of defense. So he's been playing spoon ball from back in the old days of Missouri State, running the shot clock down, running a 3-man weave just to kill time. About 14 seconds on the clock, they'll start the offense. Now, that's predicated on making some shots late in the clock, but it limits possessions, it lowers the score, and that's what Dana Ford wants, and it helped the defense as well. They also, the corollary to that at the same time was they stopped helping off on three-point shooters. So they've been giving up a lot of points one-on-one in the lane, but they are not going to give up threes, which they were among the worst teams in the country at giving up the first 2 months of the season. Now, they've kind of run out of gas, I think. They played the best game of the year at Loyola 2 weeks ago, didn't miss a shot almost. Won that game, just a thriller. As high a level game as I've seen Missouri State involved in several years. Since then, they've lost 3 out of 4 with 2 home losses. So a little bit of disappointing ending, but if you look big picture, they were picked to finish 8th, first-year coach, finished tied for 3rd, and you hope from a Missouri State standpoint that this week of rest is kind of giving them a reboot.
Talk about being picked low and finishing well. I'm a big Dana Ford fan. I've watched him when he was an assistant, watched him in the OVC. I am a huge fan of Dana Ford. What makes him a successful coach?
Well, he's a great communicator. I mean, he's been a rock star from the day he was announced at the press conference last March. He captured the community. He's gone out and done things. He and his wife, they've opened a battered women's shelter, and now they've opened a second one already. So they're doing great things in the community, but he is so transparent and a good communicator, and I've worked with, and you have probably too, coaches like people. They're all different kinds. Some of them won't give you very much. They think they're going to give away a state secret or something. Dana Ford will tell you exactly. There was a player at a game early this season, was Keandre Cook, that ended up being on the all-newcomer team. He had 4 straight 20-point games early in the year. And then one game he played 8 minutes. And I asked him about it. He was ready with an answer. He told me. He didn't just say, coach's decision, best for the team. He said, I didn't see him guarding. I didn't see him passing. I didn't see him doing things. He needs to sit down next to me till he figures it out. So he's a breath of fresh air, and he's very demanding on the players in practice. He's very passionate during the games, but he's always fighting for the program. So we're thinking just a very bright future for the Bears with Dana Ford.
The Bears will take on the Bradley Braves in the first round or the quarterfinal round of the tournament here. And Art, how do you like the matchup? Or tell us a little bit about the matchup, Missouri State versus Bradley.
Could be pretty ugly. Both teams like to play defense. The Bears gave up the fewest points in the league in conference games until the very end, and Bradley likes to play a physical style of defense. Now, the 2 games in the regular season were both in the first half as it fell, and the Bears won them both. They really stole one in Peoria, came from 14 down in the second half to win, and then just a beatdown in Springfield, 55-37. That was right after they started playing the slower tempo. Bradley has played much better since, and I know since that first second Missouri State game, there have been 10 games Bradley's averaged 71. So something's got to give. But assuming that the Bears continue to limit the touches and play a slow-tempo game, and Bradley is very physical, I think Missouri State's going to need to have an officiating crew that blows the whistle a little bit. But it could be a pretty low-scoring game.
You and I talked way back in November in Kansas City when the Bears opened up in that preseason beginning of the season tournament. And you've watched this team really kind of do ebb and flow, but really grow together. And with all the different pieces he's put together, they really have meshed, haven't they?
They really have. I mean, he's shortened the bench, plays 7 players most of the time. Darian Scott is a redshirt freshman, big kid that plays a little bit, and he's a good defender, not an offensive threat at all. But the 5 starters all pretty much play 30-plus minutes, so he's leaned heavily on them. 3 of the 5 on the all-newcomer team in the conference are from Missouri State. Now, one is a one-and-done senior, Josh Webster, from here in St. Louis. CBC said he grew up going to this tournament. Played at UMSL for a year.
He redshirted at UMSL and then played a year.
Right. Then he was at Texas Tech, and they go to the Elite Eight, but he didn't play that much, and that's a really high-caliber program. So really happy for him that he has had this dream come true his senior year, back in his hometown, point guard on a team in the Missouri Valley Conference tournament. So he's just been one example of the guys that have bought into what Dana Ford has been selling.